And this is a yield farming protocol called Yearn, also allowing you to take those liquidity provider tokens that you would get for providing liquidity, using that to then provide liquidity to another pool that has that new token. This, for example, is YV Boost is liquidity token from some other protocol that you would then combine with Ethereum. So this is a little bit advanced. You can also just stake one crypto like ETH, because this is a lending and borrowing protocol. If you just provide your ETH to this protocol, that means that other people can then go and borrow against it. And so you don't even have to have two tokens in this case. This can just be one. Your net annual percentage yield will be 0.65. Not a lot, obviously, but this one, there's not a lot of risk in doing that, and it's a pretty common, there's a lot of liquidity already locked in here, so it's going to be a little bit lower. So you have the gross APR here too, which is what it would be if it compounds. So 2.81% is what you get after a year. So not a lot of money there. But if you get something like DAI here, then you're talking about a little bit more yield here, up almost 5%. There we go. So the highest yield ones are going to be the ones that are kind of crazy, where you're pooling a bunch of different tokens together. And usually a lot of those are liquidity provider tokens that you've gotten from doing this elsewhere. It's going to have a lot higher APY here, but you also can't really rely on what this says, especially if it's a higher yield, because essentially this can change daily depending on a few different factors. So today it could be 27%, but tomorrow you might see that it's 11%. So really what you got to be looking at is what's the average of that going to be over a long period of time. And that's what gets tricky. One of my recommendations in the tips for beginners is to stick with lower yield, where there's not a whole lot of different tokens involved. And you're generally going to want to do it with non-liquidity provider tokens. So here you would here's another screen where you are providing singular tokens for some interest for a fixed interest rate. So you could also go here if you wanted to borrow some tokens. You could also do that. You'd pay some amount of money to borrow some of these tokens if you wanted to have leverage, for example. And on the supply side here, this is just showing how much it's paying out for the people who are on the other screen that we were just on, providing the liquidity for that. In this screen, under yield, it's showing you under each one of these what the strategy is, what you'd get from this. Not sure if we're going to have time to go over some of these crazier ones, but you can see here, for example, that this pool right here is these four tokens. So YDAI, YUSD, YUSDT, and YBUSD. Crazy names. And this is how much you would expect in a year. This is how much you would expect monthly. And again, that can change over time. So you have to get it out of whatever specific smart contract it is. So in this case, if you deposited some ETH here in this specific smart contract, you would withdraw from here once you have earned some yield. Deposit here, automatically connected to my MetaMask here. The same thing would happen if I wanted to withdraw. I would just click withdraw here. That same screen would pop up where I'd have my MetaMask and I could, confirm that. So you won't see that if you just log into your MetaMask here. You're going to have to go to the actual smart contract or screen that you deposited in.
for something with a bit more of an easier user interface or user experience, there's some relatively new Bitcoin-based DeFi programs that are a lot smoother. You don't have to deal with Ethereum quite as much. One of the good ones is called Cake DeFi. They have their own non-custodial chain as well as a custodial service if you're looking for a more smooth experience, but they do charge a small premium for that. Sovereign BTC or SOVRYN. That's completely non-custodial, also very new.
There's other ones on different chains like Pancake Swap here, which is on Binance Smart Chain, and so I would definitely, what I'm about to talk about here in a minute is the fees, which on Ethereum are very high. I'm showing you some of the most popular ones just because Ethereum still is the most popular and is the most, call it trusted network and proven network that there is. And also where the most total lock value is the amount of liquidity that there is. But definitely worth checking out some of these other chains like Binance Smart Chain and Solana and some of these other ones and the products on those.
David, quick question. I mean, if you wanted to experiment with this, does it make sense to start with a stable coin first and just sort of try it out before you go into other tokens, or it just doesn't make a difference?
Yeah, and that's what I was actually going to recommend.